and on stormwater issues. And she was like, well, I'm more of an expert than you are. I'm like, are you? Yeah, good stuff.
We'll call the meeting to order. Nina, please take the roll.
Councilman Bundy?
Present.
Councilman
This was
Brennan?
me.
Present.
With her.
Councilman McCain?
Present.
Councilman Stokes?
Present.
Mayor Sykes?
Present. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for the March 8th, 2021 meeting at 6. Before we go to item number 1, I just want the council to know that I will be taking off item number 8 tonight, so that'll be taken off to be discussed at a different time. We'll run down to item number 1. We'll go down to item number 2, presentation by Alexis Pickering, with the Central District Health to speak about Elmore County's Get Healthy Idaho grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks,
Thank you.
Council.
Thank you.
So happy to be here. For those of you that might know me, I'm Alexis Pickering. I'm an employee of Central and Southwest District Health, and I'm very proud and honored to say I'm the only shared employee of 2 health districts in the state.
Nice.
And I'm very excited to talk about this amazing new grant opportunity that Elmore County has landed, and talk a little bit more about kind of the grant, the timeline, what kind of opportunity this is for the city and the county as a whole, and see if there's any partnership opportunities and see if there's any other things and insights I could get from you guys. So for today, I just wanted to share a little bit of background about me and my position, how this relates to this work, the grant FAQs, how this connects to the Elmore County Health Coalition role, and then going into this online survey and the interviews, and then answering any questions that you have. But if you have any questions in the meantime, happy to entertain those. So as I mentioned, I am kind of a weird hybrid, not normally just stationed in one health district that you probably were familiar with. And I facilitate and lead the Western Idaho Community Health Collaborative. I know it's a mouthful. I did not name it, but that's what we are. And it is essentially aligning healthcare, public health, and social services like the food bank and all these other programs and agencies that are here to support folks in need. So as you probably have all seen, it's really easy to duplicate and not be in alignment and waste and actually not get the results that we're all looking for and having better health and quality of life. So this collaborative that I facilitate is aimed to change that by bringing all those folks together to work in alignment and work specifically on and in partnership with a community at a time. So through, an analysis and all of the work that you have all done over the last few years in partnership with the Elmore County Health Coalition, WHC said we really want to partner with Elmore County on something. And so that something was the Get Healthy Idaho grant. And so that is the first time, it's the first opportunity of its time. It's through the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare. And traditionally, IDHW is very much downstream, like, hey, let's do some diabetes prevention programs, here's like cancer prevention, and that can kind of get into this routine of just looking at clinical measures, right? Rather than going further upstream to say, what are the things that are driving these healthcare costs, right? So this is a 4-year grant opportunity that the state is looking to say, let's try this out with Elmore County and WHC as partners, to truly understand the deep drivers of these health conditions that are persistent, like high suicide, obesity, and diabetes, and kind of get away from those downstream measures and actually talking to folks on the ground to say what is contributing to these things and work collectively on those upstream drivers. So this is a really big deal. Governor's involved, there's a lot of really important pieces, and they're trying to see how can they take insights from this opportunity to other parts of the state. So this, again, like I can't emphasize more, this is a partnership with the Elmore County Health Coalition and my collaborative, and we bring a regional perspective and y'all bring a local perspective. So like I mentioned, this is a 4-year grant. We're in these first, I think it's month 3. In our first 9 months, we received $155,000, and then depending on, which I'll talk more about in the next minute or so, is we're going to be completing an assessment, and whatever it is that the insights are from that assessment, that's going to link to particular federal and state funding. So we're pretty sure that it's going to be in the 6 digits for those consistent years, subsequent years. So hundreds of thousands of dollars for this grant. And so the big key, like 3 big reasons why we got this, is to build capacity and to demonstrate collaboration between these 2 separate entities, to improve and change these upstream health challenges. Sorry.
We're going long. Okay, there you go. Sorry, go ahead. We're back.
Speakers, they flash red. Not recording you.
Probably a good thing, but that's okay. All right, perfect. So to improve these health challenges that are really kind of persistent. And we also, there's some health disparities among the Hispanic population and community in particular. So higher mortality, just a lot of challenges. So we really want to say, okay, let's talk to the actual community itself, see if we can improve those overall health outcomes as a whole, because that'll lift all boats. So the first big step is to really, do an assessment, and I have a timeline on the next slide, but really we're involving all communities in Elmer County, so Mountain Home, Glens Ferry, Pine Featherville. In this first 9-month stage and in subsequent stages, we're really focusing on improving the health and lives of veterans, older adults, Hispanic Latino populations, and mainly folks living paycheck to paycheck or that are under the federal poverty line. So really trying to get them to be resilient and sustainable and thriving. The coalition and your community voice is going to inform and has informed our assessment strategy, who's participating in these focus groups and interviews, and actually our action plan for the subsequent 4 years. So huge onus on all of you, and of course assisting in executing this plan. So this is just a timeline. We're in obviously March, so we're currently conducting focus group interviews and one-on-one interviews. We've launched the online survey in English and Spanish. It closes this month. And April we'll be analyzing data and building that report. And I would like to come back and share those findings with you all, if you'll have me, in the summer. And then we're going to be developing that action plan, and we submit that to the state in September, and then we get to work in October. So it's a really quick timeline and turnaround, which I think is really exciting because we have a lot of work to do.
Hey, Alexis, when did that survey go out?
It actually, the soft launch this week.
Oh, okay.
So it's all on our CDH page and my WitchC website. So I've got like a couple things you guys can particularly help with some really cool things on my next slide, I think. Perfect. Perfect timing. So back to kind of the FAQs around the survey, and we've kind of mentioned a lot, the hospitals and the health district, we oftentimes collect community health needs assessment data, and that's, like I said, very quantitative, very clinical. This many people went to get a mammogram. This many people smoke. This many people have cancer. We really want to understand, is it incomes? Is it lack of social connection and a sense of community that's driving those behavioral health challenges? So we want to get to the why, and to do that we have to have qualitative data, so the stories behind it. And so this is, again, never been done before. So these are open-ended. There's just 8 to 9 questions that are open-ended. I gave Councilman Brennan a page with my questions, so you can see they're really easy to understand, very simple questions that we think will be accessible to everybody. And like I said, we have them in English and Spanish. The survey should take 5 to 10 minutes, and we have had 1 focus group in Mountain Home, and then interviews actually haven't even taken that long. So that's kind of the survey nuts and bolts. And I guess what I really could use help with, so like I said, this assessment is really key, because that's what's going to drive this action plan. We can't do a good job without good data. So I desperately would love it if you all could help me get the word out about this survey, whether that's posting on your social media, encouraging your staff to take it and their families to take it. One caveat is this is only for adults, so no children are allowed to participate. And send it through your newsletters and word of mouth. So I'm happy to share documents and templates that are easier for you guys to manipulate and use with the messaging that makes sense for you. And also, if you know of somebody that fits one of those 4 groups, I would be
There you go.
I would be happy to interview them or coordinate a focus group.
Okay.
And that's all I have, I think.
I think we'd be more than happy to share that on our city page, our Instagrams, all that stuff. Whatever the link you're needing us to get people to, we can really definitely push that out. I know Brad's a huge social media guy. Whatever we can to definitely help you out. I think it only behooves us to have that kind of data and statistical knowledge as well. So
Our new digital display board. maybe?
yeah, hopefully
Oh, yeah.
we're working on the power problem over there. So hopefully soon.
Okay.
But yeah,
Ms. Ware,
Councilman Stokes.
do you have links to the survey, Alexis?
Yeah, I would be happy
Are
to
they
email
on
it to you.
that Western Idaho Community Health Collaborative?
It is on that website.
Okay, great.
But I can send it to you.
Cool, thank you.
Okay.
So could you do me a favor and send it to Nina, and she can discern that out to all the council and all the department heads so they can send it out to their people too?
Be happy to.
Okay. Councilman, you got anything for Alexis?
I'd like it to go to Marty as well to get the base involved.
Oh,
I
actually,
think that's a big priority.
Our goal is to have at least 250 folks participate in the survey.
Okay.
I think we could do that.
Yeah.
You have about 105 employees. Hopefully we get that.
Well, maybe not all of them might fit that target population, but
we don't describe. We love everyone.
okay.
But yeah, we'll do our part and make sure that we can get this out to you. Councilman, you got anything for Alexis?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now,
Yeah.
this is a really big opportunity for the county and your city, and I'm really excited to be able to come back, and then potentially if there's opportunities to collaborate and see if there's ways that we can all align. And WICC is also looking into developing a wellness fund, so there could be additional funding coming from these variety of partners that are part of my collaborative. So it'll just hopefully have this ripple effect that'll benefit the county in really big ways.
Well, we appreciate you making your time to come down to Mountain Home, and I know you've made it all the way from Boise. So seriously, it's good for us, and definitely I think Brock, our community director, we like that statistical data, and then maybe it helps us drive one way or another when we're looking at businesses as well. So we appreciate you.
Totally.
Thank you.
Happy to help. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one. Alrighty, we'll jump down to item number 3, the public hearing about library increases. Do we have anybody that'd like to get up and speak on two or four, against or for library rate increases?
Good, to let go. Now press it again. Oh, you got it. There you go. You don't have to stand up.
Hearing,
You don't have to say anything, Shasta, unless someone comes up.
Okay.
hearing none. Just go once, going twice. Alrighty, we'll close that one up.
Yeah.
Chairman Green, did you want to say anything for the library board? Or steal, I don't want you stealing Shasta's thunder, of course.
No, I don't want to steal Shasta's thunder. I always refer to her when it comes to putting anything out there publicly. But I am personally, my wife and I are going to donate $100 a month for the next 3 months to kind of offset the cost of the increase of the library cards.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Tell your wife, you guys are amazing. Thank you. All right, we're on down to item number 4, public hearing on the water and wastewater rate increases. Do we have anybody that would like to come up and speak? If you do, come up, please. You put your name down there, 2 or 4 or against the rate increases.
Nobody?
Hearing none. Go once, go twice. We'll close that one out. We'll run down to item number 5, recognizing person in the audience. Would anybody like to get up and speak for 3 minutes? Alrighty.
Well, I don't know why you have tabled number,
Nancy, you have to state your name.
Nancy Thompson, why you've tabled number item 8, but that's what I'm here to address.
Okay.
I'm here to express my grave concerns about the upcoming vote regarding the airport.
Hang on a sec. Sorry.
There you
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Now you're on the record.
Okay. I'm here to express my grave concerns about the upcoming vote regarding the airport. I am not here to talk about my concerns about the character of certain individuals, so I won't use words like unethical, vindictive, narcissistic, or egomaniac, and I am not here to address leadership styles or lack of leadership. I am here to express concerns that this council plans to spend city taxpayer dollars to purchase equipment that is currently provided by a veteran-owned small business. These services have been provided for the past 6 years, and this business has spent thousands of dollars to improve services and fuel capacity to support the airport and the BLM during firefighting season. The only reason I can see for wanting to spend these dollars is greed. The city sees a business that's being successful. It has used false information provided by individuals without access to true information. It has disregarded the factual data when provided and has decided that they want that share of the business. It boils down to the fact that one specific member of the city does not like that business owner and has a track record of attempting to destroy any individual who deems that player not a team player or his team player. If you are looking to make more money at the airport, how about charging every commercial business a flowage fee and not just this one business? How about reinstating parking fees? How about using the FAA CARES Act dollars and build hangars for which you can charge rent? Rumor has it that the management contract might be awarded to a business from outside the county, so that taxpayer dollars will be leaving the county. The current manager has spent countless hours ensuring that anyone flying into the airport receives great customer service, which reflects positively on Mountain Home. But that doesn't seem to count for anything. Your current manager has over 40 years' experience in the aviation industry, and yet you treat him with complete disregard. You've also requested and demanded proprietary financial information from a private business. Talk about unethical. Have any of you ever bothered to even ask the customers what their impression of the service they receive? Has anyone asked the seat pilots if they are receiving services that they like? Has anyone bothered to ask former members of the Airport Advisory Board why they resigned? Has anyone reached out to the fuel suppliers as to what their impression of the airport is? Don't bother to answer, I know the answer already. I have heard that the councilmen have said that they are only one voice. Well, I would challenge you to use that voice and not support the idea that your one voice doesn't count. It does count. Don't use tax dollars to compete with a small veteran-owned business. Don't use tax dollars to put another small business out of business. And, oh, by the way, I have reached out to Senator Zito and the media to let them know that the government entity is trying to put a small business out of business.
Thanks, Nancy. Would anybody else like to get up?
Yes, we're going to take discussion on item 8. My name is Martin Pike, and I'm concerned about the city of Mountain Home going into competition with a contractor out there at the airport. I don't think it's the business of government to be in direct competition selling fuel with somebody who already has a contract out there to sell the fuel. And that's pretty much the end of what I've got.
Thank you, Martin. Elaine?
Gentlemen, how are you tonight? Thank you for allowing me to be here. And I would like to ask the same question as why the city of Mountain Home is using tax dollars to compete with a small business, a veteran-owned business. A small business that's owned and operated by a retired Air Force officer that's been doing a good job at the airport. He spent 30 years with the airport fighting for the right to your rights to sit where you are, my right to sit where I am tonight. My friends and my brothers that have hangars, and planes, they say they're happy with the service there. They don't see where the problem is. Ted is what you want in a small business, in a small community, engaged and working for the good of the community. His business has been supportive of local organizations and uses his time and his financial resources to support the city of Mountain Home. And why don't you consider the optics of what it sounds like when you try to take out a small business that's open in Mountain Home? You send a negative impression that you don't have much respect for small business. I owned a small business for 30 years, and it's not easy. a mixture of fear, frustration, and a lot of satisfaction. You wouldn't be doing it for 30 years. But it takes a lot of commitment, and mistakes are expensive. So you have to have your facts, your figures, and a whole lot of research to make sure that those major decisions are not a mistake, because mistakes are expensive. I'm asking the council to tread with caution before they make an expensive mistake. And again, I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Elaine.
Thanks.
Alrighty. You would like to get up and speak? Ted?
Not again.
Is this an allied issue?
Thank
or
you
is
for the
this a-
opportunity to talk, Ted Thompson.
Sorry, Ted. Hang on a second, hang on a second, Ted. Hang on. Okay.
I really love working at the airport. It's been a real passion. I've invested my blood, sweat, and treasure, paying people out of my pocket, and I'm a little frustrated that that treasure that I've spent will be taken perhaps and given to somebody else. I submitted my proposal today, and I have some concerns about that process. I hope it's fair. I hope that my contributions will be recognized, and that's contributions not just financial, but as I said, blood, sweat, and tears. My heart and soul's in that airport. Done everything I could for the last 6+ years. I think I have demonstrated a willingness to work. I'm on an extension of my contract. I didn't walk away. I stayed, and I hope that will all be considered. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Anybody else like to get up and speak? Alrighty. Hearing none, we'll run down to item number 6. Councilman, got anything really quick? If not, I have some. Oh, Councilman Bundy?
Real quick, last Tuesday I was at the American Legion meeting, and I was asked about our flag coming in by Albertsons, and I texted our good Public Works Director, who assured me that we're getting the electricity and the lighting, and so that we can have that flag displayed all the time. I just wanted to thank him for how quickly he got back, and they all felt so much better, and they are looking forward to when we have that flag lit so that it can be up all the time. So I'd like to thank Public Works for getting on that, and they were ahead of the game on that, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. Go ahead, Rich.
Mostly, I'm going to put the mayor and the fiber crew are the ones that did the boring and stuff. I just helped make sure that they got some permits and things. But so
Thank you. They were.
mayor going on
I'll
there.
let Kyle and Danny know. That
They want that.
appreciate it.
They love to see that flag when they drive into town. So
For
thank
sure.
you.
Looks good. No, it looks really good. No, and I appreciate the American Legion was getting ready to step up.
They wanted to donate the lights. They were going to do a fundraiser, and I said, no, the city's got it. So thank you.
Yep. Councilman Councilman Brennan.
I just want to say it's great to see everybody out in the, I call it audience, I guess, today. It's been a long time since the whole council's been up, I guess, in front, and to see department heads here and citizens, just thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Councilman, anything else? I just got a few things that I want to kind of talk to you guys about. Tonight's public hearing, wastewater and water rate fees, was largely due to, well, I'm going to let Rich kind of maybe, I'm just going to say it. We have a lot of things cooking, and the scary thing for me, gentlemen up here, is we have projects that need to get funded and projects that need to get done due to residential development projections. We have quintessentially over 1,500 possible planning developments. Some have been purchased, the land has been purchased, some are multi-family units, some are affordable housing, some are workforce housing, some are off just ballpark areas, some are off of South 5th, Some are some potential ones. Hopefully, there's about 200 to 300 units potentially off West 5th North. And then the huge one, it's called Thunderbolt, and that one is probably about 232 units, and that's off of 6th Street between North 10th East, and then another 600 dwelling unit, 5 to 600 dwelling units, possibly north of or Highway 84. I want everyone to know that these projects, it's coming. Oh, sorry. Current infrastructure cannot support that growth. We can't stop the growth. It's coming whether we're ready or not. And I've always been the mayor that wants to be proactive instead of a reactive mayor. This council has been very on point of making sure that we're trying to get to that vision, and make sure that benefit of growth, obviously we can hang out or have that current infrastructure meet or exceed that. We have a wastewater cell that needs to be completed, and then what comes with growth is obviously our industrial park, and that is something that what we work on with Brock and with Marty, probably, and Marty is our military liaison. When I go back to Washington, and I know Miss Isaac's been back to Washington, they ask, do you have my housing? Do you have my availability for workforce? Do you have schools? Do you have license and reciprocity? I think this year, hopefully, when I go back to Washington, D.C., I can let them know that license and reciprocity, hopefully with some house help, I can check that off the list. Hopefully we can go out for a school bond, we can check that one off the list. And you guys got to remember, when you bring that many people in, I think, and Councilman or a Representative Bundy can correct me, that you can only build a new school when it's over capacity. So to us, when you bring that many people in, you have to have another school, and is it south of town? We got to figure that, and we got to make sure that we're ready for this growth. And this is just something that I've sat down with Rich. We want to let you guys know that we do have a plan, and we got a plan for the next 3 to 5 years. And Rich has spent probably the last 2 weeks,
4 weeks.
4 weeks on this plan, and we'll be happy to show you. But it's a lot of planning. It's a lot of infrastructure improvements. It's a lot of futuristic planning that takes time and it takes capital. So I just want everyone to know, Councilman, that I appreciate you always being the forefront, thinking outside the box, and making sure that our citizens are at the forefront of your decisions every day. So with that, we'll run down to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Councilman Bundy.
I'll be patient, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just going to run down to item number 7, consent agenda. Councilman Bundy.
I'd like to pull G and H.
Pull G and H.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
I'd like to pull item K and L.
Okay. Councilman, is there any discussion, decision? You want to pull anything else? If not, Councilman Brennan?
I do have a quick discussion item for item D. I read through the paperwork for the Holly Troxel leave, if I'm saying that right, legal services for LID project. There's quite a range of possible the fee charged to the services ranging between $35,000 and $55,000, and that range is based on, I don't have the document in front of me at the moment. Whether we have to go out for a bond, I think, is the additional 20. That's a lot of money, so I wanted to ask Paula before she sneaks away, or where that is being funded from.
Sorry, I sent her on there. Good. so I had to give her some glasses.
Sorry, Councilman Brennan, could you repeat your question?
The funding for the legal services, where exactly is that coming from?
Those will be in professional fees, in the admin budget,
Yeah,
and they will be recouped once we are able to go forward with the LID. We'll be able to recapture those. If you go in there, it is 41, 01, 415, 41. 41 even, there you go.
and so this is our, where do we have left in that line item right now?
52.
We have 52.
52, 415. I'm sorry, wrong line, 46, city eraser, 706.
46 what?
706. It's a lot of numbers.
So that line doesn't have enough if we go to the far end of that scale that they provided us with, the 55,000. What's that?
Councilman Brennan, just, that's for the legal work for the LID, which we may not even have to move forward with that. We have other options out there now, so that's just something that we might have to do.
Are you talking the 20 at the end, or this whole? Hang on.
I'll be going to two different budgets. Yeah, two different budgets, gonna be,
There you go.
it'll be in phases.
Hang on a sec.
No, we're not on. There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be in two different budgets. We're not even ready. We just need to be prepared, I guess, is what we're trying to do.
So this engagement letter that we have to assumingly sign and commit ourselves to, is that right, lawyer?
Before I would assume before we sign paper to pen, we're gonna get more of a solid number,
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. We'll have a more solid number. It'll
It's gotta come back to you anyways.
gotta come back to you. We're like months out. But we need like a starting point to say, oh yeah, this is something we're serious about. It's like, she's vague.
I guess I'm not really tracking. As soon as we sign this letter that you're asking us to sign today, right? Then we're committing ourselves to $35,000 to $55,000.
But there's
I'm sorry.
other
Oh,
avenues
yeah.
that are coming forward, like rapidly, that are grants and other avenues of revenue that might not require that LID.
So should we wait on this?
I don't know.
It's up to we gotta figure
Can't
out.
move forward and so go for an LID without you approving that. So if we end up then having to go for the LID, we can always bring that
Yeah, we
back.
can always bring it back.
I prefer that because the way I see it, and Paul can, I mean, change my mind for me if you need to be. But as soon as we sign this, I feel like we're committing to that service with Holly Troxel.
You are.
So yeah, I guess I'd like to table it then.
Yeah,
Can I pull it
seems
up?
like
Do I need to
every
pull it
week
out?
we find out new stuff about fiber possibilities and funding. So yeah, we could definitely bring it back.
Just pull it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're trying to get our boundaries. And
Have to set the boundaries.
so yeah,
Okay.
So pull those 5 items in.
So which one was that?
So we got
D.
right now we have D, G, H, K, L.
So Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy.
make a motion that we approve the consent agenda pulling D, G, H, K, and L.
Second. The motion is second. I'll call for the question. Councilman Bundy.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
All right. Run down to items 9, new business items from removed from the consent agenda. And then we'll start out with D. You want to table it till more information or more?
Yeah.
Can I make a motion for that or not?
No, it's just.
Nah, just table it. Okay. Do I have to make a motion since it was on here for
Oh,
discussion?
don't you have to make a motion to table or no?
Yes, there'd be a
All right.
motion to table.
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
Make a motion to table item D till a future date, an unknown future date.
Second. The motion is second. I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Kane?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Buddy?
Aye.
Run down to G, resolution approving lease agreements with Daniel Dobbs Memorial Rodeo. Councilman Bundy, you pulled that one off, so I'll let you have the floor first.
Thank you. There's been a lot of work done on a couple of these leases. I came back at the end of February and took a look at the completed project. Initially, I wasn't totally sold on the funding formula. I think that's worked out fine. I think we've discussed it and worked our way through. I talked with Tiffany, I've talked with Nina and the folks that have been involved in this process, and it's been a pretty time-consuming. A lot of hours have been spent. The attorneys have taken a good hard look at this, and I think as a result we have a good product. And I would like to make a motion that we pass resolution number 0221, approving a lease agreement with the Daniel Dobbs Memorial Rodeo Association Incorporated to lease Optimus Park for the Daniel Dobbs Rodeo, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to sign.
Second.
Sorry. There's been a motion and second. I will let, hang on a sec. Is this an allied thing, or is this a computer thing?
I don't know why it keeps doing that. I have no idea. We've had people out here to look at it, and it won't do it when they're here, so they can't figure out what's making it happen.
There's a motion and a second. I will allow Councilman Brennan to speak really quick before I call for the question.
Well, you have a motion and a second, now it's open for deliberation.
Right. Councilman Brennan.
Mayor, I as well am accepting of the formula that we have come up with. I would like to propose one slight change that would save the rodeo with my math, and Tiffany, if you'll help me through this, saves them about $10. So pretty minimal, but what I'm concerned with is the precedent that we set. And in the base formula, Councilman, you might, if you want, follow along with me here at the contract, but we're talking about, let's see here, in parentheses, it talks about a half-day park rental fee. So I'm going to boil down the numbers. Who am I looking at here? I'm going to boil down the numbers here from basically keeping everything the same except charging 8 days at a half-day park rental fee to 4 days at a full day park rental, where the city would then, whether it's verbal or on paper, make a resolution to say that week of the Daniel Dobbs Memorial Rodeo is set aside in Optimus Park for the rodeo. And the reason I want to change that to 4 full days is because it's full days of activity out there, when all the others are part days, like half-day rental fees. And so if the council and the mayor together would say that week, I believe it's the last week of the month, is that right?
Typically, yes. It's the fourth full weekend, Friday and Saturday of June. It's always the fourth. So, for instance, if May 31st is Friday and June 1st is Saturday, that's not the first full week. It would fall later, but
Sure.
it's that first full week, last week in June.
Thank you. And so Tiffany presented us with options for half-day park rental fees and full-day park rental fees, and we have an ordinance for that. And so, again, whether it's verbal or on paper, we make something similar to a resolution to say that's their week, they get it. But I only want to charge for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where they're bringing in animals for the rodeo. They're bringing in the cowboys. They're doing that stuff. So 4 full-day rental fees at using this formula, and that would, trying to make sure I work my way through this so the council fully understands.
Can I just say something though? If you're going to base it off of when we're bringing in animals, that starts typically on Wednesday. So, I mean, in all fairness, I'm being honest, and I'm just gonna say, typically livestock starts arriving on Wednesday.
So it's a remote. Sorry.
We're stirring. I understand what he's saying on the 4 full days, but I don't want to get into the minutia of.
He wants to do 8 days of resolution for you, I think, is where you're trying to go, right? So we make a resolution. That is the Daniel Dobbs Memorial.
Pay for 4.
Correct.
Then if I can have the 8 days and pay for 4, we're. Is
Is that what you're trying to say?
that what you're trying to say?
Mayor, do you mind if I address directly?
Yes. So just for clarity, that's not, I'm gonna let her, because it's her rodeo, I'll let her direct. Come on down here real quick.
I want to be fair as well.
Sure. And so, it sounded like you understood what I'm saying. 4 full days, which the park rental fee is $45 per day for a full day. The half day is $25. So, really, right, it's a $5 savings per day at just the daily rate, not going off this formula. However, using those numbers for the formula, it saves you $10 for 4 days. You charge for 4, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thank you for telling us about Wednesday. But I think the council finds value in the rodeo there, and for some livestock coming in for a few hours on Wednesday, I think that's okay. But the reason I want to do the full day is about the precedent for the city.
And I understand.
And so we set that precedent. You're a full day operation, we charge you for the full day deal. And the other one that's going to come up next for discussion, that's a half day event. And so they would get the half day fee. And so, Tiffany, is there anything else I need to cover on that? I'm not putting you on the spot like you agree with me, just, we talked about this.
I'm good.
And council, do you have any questions with what I'm saying?
Mayor,
Councilman McCain?
I don't always agree with Councilman Brennan, but I do this time. I think this is a good idea.
Mayor, I agree with Councilman Brennan on this one too, and I think Tiffany, for the countless hours to come up with an objective formula, I like this precedent the city has formulated.
So Paul, can we do an ordinance saying it's Daniel Dobbs 8-day Memorial Day? You know what I mean? Can we do something like that for him?
As an ordinance, or do it as a
Resolution.
Resolution, yes. Not as an ordinance.
Right.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, it'll be an agreement of how many days her lease is
Right.
for and how much she's paying on the exhibit.
Right.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
also excluding other events from the park that week, as usual.
It's always, yes.
So can I just say, Mayor, first I would like to address the council and just say thank you very much. I'd like to also express my thanks, and the committee would like to express their thanks to Tiffany and Miguel for their hard work of doing this, and in the light of across the board fairness and it being very transparent. We do appreciate that effort, and so I would like to express my thanks to her for that as well, and to each and every one of you for your support of this event. So
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, leave me now. Thank you.
So yeah, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramona.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy?
so can we just go ahead and pass this with that slight fee alteration in this?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Mayor?
okay.
And then we can do separately, we can do a verbal council resolution stating the days of the Daniel Dobbs Rodeo and that you're reserved, and you can have that. And we can get the, okay, so we're good. So I just want to make sure that we're good to pass this, and we just do the slight little adjustment in
It
there.
says the dates.
Okay, that's fine. I'm
And then
totally
we'll
good with
pass
that.
this resolution accepting this agreement.
Correct.
The only thing I'll need to change is the exhibit that has what she'll pay. Instead of 8 days here, I'll change it to 4 days and redo the amount that she's due.
Perfect, thank you. We'll just go ahead and we'll get that done and make that slight change, and I think we're good.
All right, Councilman Brennan?
This, I'm glad everybody's on board. Feels good. However, this is where the arrows get thrown my direction. Water, right? Somebody brought it up in the last meeting, and I guess let me just say it for the record. We are poised to significantly raise the water fee for every single resident in this city. I'm not saying what this council is going to do when we hear that discussion, but based on our discussion last year, I can imagine that there will be at least a meet in the middle. So a significant raise to the water for each and every EDU owner of this city. And so I find it hard to charge the citizen water rates and increased water rates and then give water away for free at the bulk rate, or I'm sorry, without paying a bulk rate for the water. I don't like charging some and giving it away at substantial quantity of water. I don't like charging some and giving it away for others, regardless of who you are or what organization you represent. Water is so precious in our area. It feels like a limited resource with all the other water projects we have going on, and so I feel like we need to pass that. We need to pass that fee for water on to everybody equally. And I would propose charging the bulk water rate for everybody that uses it, specifically for this conversation for the Daniel Dobbs Memorial Rodeo as well. Tiffany, can you?
Mr. Mayor? Hang on a second. Are you done? I just want to make sure everyone.
Yes, I just wanted to ask Tiffany about the numbers that we crunched.
Go ahead.
Well, I spoke with Paula, and I think she worked with Nina this afternoon to get some of these numbers. So if I say these wrong, please correct me, Rich and ladies. It would be, you guys pull the water off of a hydrant, correct? And fill the water trucks?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and I know Mike Focus said roughly about 10 loads go into the arena. Is that right?
That's approximately us. It's going back into the aquifer. I mean, it's used for dust control, but yeah.
Right. So, okay, so a hydrant meter deposit is $800 currently. That would be paid with also an additional $50, which is the first 10,000 gallons of water. And then at the current rate is $4.70 per 1,000 gallon. If it goes to the proposed new rate, it's $4.94. So I did the math at the new rate. I come up to $163.62 is what I did. 11 truckloads, because I think you do stop your cattle get a truckload, right?
They use potable water because there is no water over in the contestant, because water sources at Optimus Park are limited. So in order for the contestants to have water for their animals, we do provide a water truck with potable water for livestock.
So I just did between the 10 loads on the arena dirt, and then I did one truck for potable cattle. And
so can I understand, it's an $800 deposit?
yes. Which is, yes.
Is refundable, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor? Councilman Buddy. Go ahead.
I think that's a good conversation. The contract's been around for a couple of weeks. I think the amount of money that we would charge her for water is negligible compared to the thousands of dollars of economic input that the rodeo brings in. And I would like to call the question, and I would like to call the question for the vote on the contract with the slight, with the fee change done.
All right. I will call for the question. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Somebody's laughing out there, I hear it. But Mayor, I'm gonna say this, and I support everything we're at right now, everything except the water argument that is getting passed over. I have to stand my ground, because that water argument is gonna help direct my decisions that I make on the water rate increase. So I can't vote, I can't contradict myself. So for that reason, I'm gonna vote nay.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
All righty. Run down to item H, resolution approving leases agreements with Beverly Lucia Farmers Market. Councilman Bundy, you pulled that one. I'll let you take first stab at it.
I'm going to use the same logic I used on G. We've had 2 or 3 weeks to look at these, and we've had 2 or 3 weeks to suggest changes, and as of council meeting, there were none. So I'd like to make a motion to pass resolution 0321 approving the lease agreement with Beverly Lucia for the farmers market at Railroad Park, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Is there any deliberation? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Kane?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
All right. Run down to item K, establishing water rates to be effective April 1, 2020. Councilman Brennan, you pulled that, so I'll give you first stab at it.
Let me organize for 1 second, sorry.
On my computer and it's frozen.
Thank you. I want to go back to last year's conversation that we had about the water rate increase, where we were presented with taking an approximate. Let me just say, all my numbers right now are going to be approximate. But last year we were presented with a choice to raise the water and wastewater collectively for the base rate at 22% increase to the citizens. The final outcome was an approximate to 10 to 11% increase, where the council was not able to bind ourselves to a decision this year, nor did we, but there was very, how do I say this? It seemed as if we were all in favor that we would take half of it last year and half of it this year for another 10 to 11% increase. The numbers that are being presented to the council today for adoption is a 23.81% increase for the base rate alone of the collective water and wastewater rate increase. And that's a total of $10 strictly for the base rate. That's a hard bill to swallow. I know for a lot of our citizens, everybody makes a budget, and some are more fortunate financially than others, I think, but I think no matter who you are, that adds up. And the mayor said it well at the beginning. We have a lot of projects, which we use that loosely, projects, but we have a lot of infrastructure that needs replacing. And I understand that we have to get some more money into those budgets because one is borrowing from another, so to speak. Rich, is that a fair assessment?
Mayor and council, yes, it would be a fair assessment.
And based on our conversation today, could you just point out that there are some pipes, specific pipes that have to go, right, for health safety standards? And it's an expensive.
Go ahead, Rich.
Bill.
Mayor, council, I'm going to address kind of both of them at the same time, just kind of what you were both saying. I had a great conversation with Councilman Brennan this morning and kind of looked at some things going off of your questions you had. That, you know, this is what we had, what we proposed last year. We got part of it, and then we were thinking about doing the rest of this year. So I kind of, when I looked at everything and how everything kind of goes together, so here's how I got the number that we came to now, not looking at kind of where we were, so why that has changed. So when I looked at the purpose of the rate increase, and it really is kind of threefold that I had with what was going on, the purpose that we had to look for. And this is basically kind of with a lot of, it's what's been in the previous things also. One of them was that we've just been Public Works has been falling behind in yearly long-term utility maintenance. That's kind of the first problem that we had. The second problem was that, again, availability in some cases is offsetting the maintenance cost. And the mayor kind of got to a good point when he brought it up with availability. Our purpose and kind of a policy that we've always had, I mean, when I was on the council and previous councils, it's we want growth to pay for itself, and growth is availability. So for the mayor was talking about, 600 homes, I'll take Thunderbolt Land, 238 homes. So each of those homes that comes in pays two parts into availability. One is water and one is wastewater. So that's what growth is paying for. And so, you know, water is $2,450, and wastewater is $4,200. So $66,650 for every building permit that we put together that has one EDU, that goes into availability. So when we talk about things on my project that we looked at, that's like building new wells. That is new infrastructure that has to be put in because of growth. So the maintenance fund is to take care of things that are already in the ground that we have. So that's where, you know, these rates are what a user is paying, that's what they're paying for. So to try to keep that into just away from growth. And so the last thing, the reason for the rate increase in these is our master plans have not been used to the potential that they were designed for. And so our wastewater master plan is 2011. So in 2011, I put this as, you actually have this right here that I was looking at. So in 2011, Keller came to us and said we need to have a base rate of $16.80. That was in 2011. If we wanted to have replacement and be able to keep moving forward. So those were just maintenance and replacement.
Correct.
So the wise council that we had at that time, and I will say I was on that council, you know, and I mean, which we decided, well, instead of taking that $16.80, we approved $11.30. So that's what we had. So if we would have done the $16.80 in 2011 and had a 5% increase all the way to the 10 years where we are right now, we would be at a base rate of $27.50. What Public Works is asking is, for right now, is $25.70. So it's actually less than what we would have had if we would have been doing that 5% all the way to today. So kind of one of the things. So that something that I used in my thought process what was going on here. Water, kind of the same thing. We had a 2019 study done. It was a little more up to date. They asked the city, or Keller asked for $21.20, and the council approved $20.20. Again, I think I was on that one too. No, I wasn't. I was over here. But anyway, so just kind of some things that we had. So,
Can I ask you a question real quick, Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Bundy.
Thanks, Mr. Urquidy. If we had done the whole request, like I remember Councilman Stokes wanted to do the whole thing last year, what would our rate be this year if we had done the whole thing last year?
It would have, I have that.
Is that question, you get where I'm getting
It's
at?
not, I wrote it in, I have it on a note card. I mean, see, I have 20,000 notes that I have all over the place.
It's all right, take your time.
Oh, here it is. So, I think I wrote that down. If we would have done, sorry, different spot. Last year, we would have asked for, the Public Works asked for, in water, for example,
I believe it was 20.
It was
26,
20.
25.
I got it right here. I asked for 20%. We asked for 20%, which would have been $21. So, no, that's wastewater down. It's different spots.
Is that paragraph?
It would have been $26.25.
Hang on a second. Sorry. Okay, say that again.
$26.25.
If we had done it all last year.
Last year.
And you're asking for what this year?
In water, it was, I have to go to another page. Water is asking to go to
$26.30.
$26.30. So it's actually, so it's 5 cents more than what.
Okay.
Go ahead, Paula.
So go ahead.
Oh, I'd like to jump in on one of Councilman Brennan's concerns of passing that on, the cost, the increased cost, and, you know, people that are struggling and trying to help them. So we have an Idaho lawmaker's proposal, sweeping tax cuts to income and sales tax. So we know the sales tax is going to get lowered. That's going to help everyone, regardless of if you own property or not. We have a property tax relief bill that is in there right now, and then we also have a proposal to reduce the income tax brackets. So that's going to help people, like if they have to pay a little more on the water, they are getting a sales tax reduction. That's everyone in the state. Also this weekend I was watching the news, and we know that we had crisis in some of our lower states They had a Mississippi senator on there, and the first thing he did was blame it on the cities and the city council, because he said they knew their infrastructure was struggling, they did nothing to fix it. So those are some things you need to think about. I know that it's not fun being the bad guys, not fun being today, but if you're not the bad guys today, we'll definitely later on, if there's a crisis, we'll say they didn't do anything to help the city. So those were just some thoughts.
So, Mr. Mayor, real quick.
Councilman Bundy, go ahead.
So, the point is, if we had done this all last year, we wouldn't be here right now. And so, I'm gonna give Councilman Stokes kudos for his idea last year.
Thank you.
That was just the point. I mean, we're right where we would have been had we done it all last year and not inferred that we were going to split it into 2 years. So I'm just wanted to get my numbers straight.
And not Councilman, sorry. Rich, will you tell the audience and the citizens of really realizing we were offsetting O&M projects
with, yes, so some of our
running in the red, I guess.
One of our yes, we didn't run into the red, but we would have if we wouldn't have been able to use availability.
Right.
So we were using growth to help to pay for normal infrastructure.
Day-to-day operation.
Right. So we were borrowing from Peter to pay Paul.
Correct.
That's exactly
So
what
with
we did.
increased,
Councilman Bundy,
Mr. Mayor,
go ahead.
based on earlier conversations, it looks like we're going to see some fairly big growth this year, which would even make the situation potentially not as favorable.
Well, Mr. Mayor and Council, so yes, we're set up with our growth where we are to a certain amount of EDUs. But so once we get to a certain tipping point, that's where we have to make sure that we have the availability to be able to take care of the growth. So I think just kind of, if I may, can I kind of go on the next?
Yep.
I mean,
keep going. Sorry.
No, you're okay. So my next practice that I went through with going through all of this was I put together our projects of what needed to be done, what had not been done since 2011, what projects were on the books that should have been done there, and actually the 2019 master plan. So I've looked at the master plans, I looked at water and wastewater, and I gave you these sheets today. Water and wastewater is down below on the one. So my next phase is looking at those. And so the blue one are availability. Anything that's in a blue line, that's going to be where growth is paying for itself. And the other things is our O&M, it's our maintenance, it's our things that are in there. So then I looked at those, and so and I did actually give you some of those projects on the other sheet that I have. Like we have some transite lines that are in College Park area, and actually in the Tyndall subdivision, kind of in those areas. Those are some of the first ones we're going to get. It's some of our oldest lines. We have to do extra testing for those. And just because they're old and what they were made of, so we want to abandon those so we can stop doing those tests and get better lines, and it upgrades everything as we're kind of going. So, but what was great about this thing that I put together was I could start to see where things fit together with the projects. So when it comes to streets also, and so because in these projects, if we tear up a water pipe, it's going to that we have to replace half the road with that. So then I could start looking at our general funds, which is streets, and instead of having to pay for the whole road construction under general funds, we can just be able to do half of those roads because half of it's being run. So, and general funds are taxed. Is it more of a tax base? That's where those are tax-based things that people have to pay. They pay their taxes. We take care of the roads. Where water and wastewater are fee-based. So the more water you use, the more you pay. The more and I can't say the more you flush your toilet because that's not really what it is. It's more your water is paying for your wastewater. That's where we get those different fees. So when I put all this together, I could start getting a big master plan and see, then I say, well, we better put this project with that one because we are going to have half that road. So we start meshing the different wastewater and water together and what's going on, and you can see a lot that could get done. When things are underground, for the most part, people don't see those, and it's pretty darn expensive when you have to dig into the ground. And so that's the nice thing too about that helped me with this, where we talked about growth and the growth that's coming into town. When I see those things I can, I really get the, I really get the bigger picture now. Then I wish I would have known this when I was sitting up there, because in 2011 I would have said, let's bash this whole thing. And I really see that big picture now. And so sorry that I had to, that I'm one vote, but you can tell we were in the collaboration how that worked. So I can see how that kind of builds together, and we can get all these things done and what's happening with that. So once there's some good projects that are happening, and the one thing that's changed too that I need to mention with stormwater used to be under in the general fund. It used to be in the street department, and so it was a general fund fee. And where it makes more sense is in the wastewater, because it's really kind of what it is. They match together, so it's more of a user fee also. So that's helping with some of those things too, because we do have to treat some of the stormwater that we have. We don't treat it all. A lot of it goes into retention ponds all over the place, and now all the subdivisions, they have to have it on site. They have to keep their stormwater on site. So but we do have some places where we do treat it, and so getting it in the ground and getting where it needs to go is important. So, and then from that, I looked at where we needed to be. You can see that I put it into the spreadsheets for water and wastewater and what fees that we have. So we could always have some. We need to make sure that we always have some cash carryover, because with your projects, you might not get one, you might not get it all done, so you need to have some cash carryover to the next year so you can finish some things. This is all built into there. And so from that, the results that I've come with this is, with these rate increases, Public Works now has more of a long-term utility maintenance plan. The maintenance fund will be able to do the projects itself without having to go into availability, and the master plans can be used to their potential for which they were designed. So that's why Public Works was asking for these increases. And these would go into effect April 1st. I'll open for questions if any.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I want to thank Mr. Urquidy for coming up with this large sheet of paper. I was doing some calculations before the meeting, adding up the millions of dollars, and noted that about $30 million would be in water and wastewater until fiscal year 26. So there's some huge projects. The construction of that new storage cell out on South 5th, right? And then the well 17. That's...
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure we mention too on that so when we talk about these fees, we need to make sure the wells aren't included with those, because that's availability. So this is general maintenance thing. So we have to. I just want to make that so people know that. So I'm not paying for industry coming in.
Yep.
I'm paying so that they're paying for themselves as much as they can. So I think that's important to get that. These are based on maintenance that we have in the ground now that we have to take care of, or we're going to have things that are going to start failing. So that's. I didn't want to correct you. I just wanted to make sure that we understand that. But thank you. There's a lot that can happen.
Hang on a second. Sorry. Do you want to input anything really quick?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I just want to stress that the Community Development Department is wholly behind this raise in wastewater and water fees. As it has been alluded to, our residential projections, I'm very happy about them, but very terrified at the same time, because it's going to be hard, but we have a great team to find solutions. Last year we only completed approximately 60-odd building permits. If the residential projects that are currently under review by our departments, and also the ones that we have been in conversations with from developers, were to come to fruition, there's a real chance that we could double and triple that building permit amount, which is something that we desperately need. I know that Councilman Brennan rightfully brought up that 20% can be a big deal for a lot of our people. In the city of Mountain Home, the average household income is only $50,000. So I can understand the trepidation and why this body would want to be very careful with increasing that amount. After all, you are stewards of the taxpayer's dollar. However, I can tell you that if that $10 is likely to be a substantial amount that you are going to lose and you're going to feel pain from it, it's likely that you probably do not own your own home. And right now, in order to get into a new home in the city, a mountain home is a astronomical task. For the month of February, the average home price was $250,000, with an average square footage price of $160. To be a first-time home buyer in this market is nearly impossible, especially when you are competing, which we always mentioned last year. Well, last year, we had no idea that this was going to happen. And what this has done is it has accelerated the migration of people from large and urban areas to small towns. And when they come to these small towns, they bring their big urban buying power. On average, they have 50% more disposable income to pay for their residential living situations. Thus, the typical Elmore resident cannot compete, and that's what we are experiencing. And I'm glad we have people that want to come to Idaho. They are coming here for a reason, because we do things right and we have created a wonderful place to live. But what I want to get to is, yes, it's $10 now, but it is an investment for our lowest earners, who unfortunately most of the time are our teachers, our first responders, even our own airmen. What this is going to do is it's going to allow us to invite this development, which right now we have approximately 1,500 EDUs available. With the projected growth we have, those EDUs can be eaten up in a period of 2 to 5 years. And that's only for residential projections. That's not the commercial and also the industrial growth that is likely to follow. And the worst thing that could happen is if we were ever in an instance where we had to deny building permits because we did not have the infrastructure. So the best way that we can help the people who are probably going to feel the brunt of this $10 increase is to provide more housing inventory and to create better jobs, which the industrial rail park is coming along. But every user that speaks to me says, Brock, but your unemployment is almost none, which is a great problem to have, which means they have to bring people in. But I don't have the housing to put them in. So at the end of the day, it comes to housing, 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 housing. Again, I appreciate this body and all that you do.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes.
I'm going to take the same stand I did last year. I think raising the rates is appropriate. We can't keep kicking it down the road. I would make the motion to pass resolution 0621 establishing water rates to be effective April 1st, 2021.
Second.
Any deliberation?
Can he combine,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Bundy?
Yes, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes
I'd
first.
like to amend my motion and combined and pass resolution 0721 establishing wastewater rates to be effective April 1st, 2021.
And I'll amend my second too, so.
All right, there's a first and second. Any deliberation? Councilman Bundy?
I think and I don't want to name any specific cities, but if for those of you that follow southeastern Idaho news and around Idaho, we've seen other cities that have had major infrastructure failure, and they're not looking at $5 to $10 a month increases in water fees. They're looking at 100 to 200% water increases. And I appreciate the fact that Mr. Urquidy highlighted where we could be if we had just been doing our 5% a year. And I think we need to make this. I remember when I became a brand new city councilman, I went to my city council training. And I'm sure we've all been to it, and the good gentleman stood up and he told a story about the city councilman that was proud of the fact that he'd never raised a water rate in 8 years. And all the people that had been around said, you might be proud of it, but you just passed a huge problem on to everybody behind you. And I really think we're at the point, Councilman Stokes, I agree, we need to swallow that pill, and we need to get where we need to be so that we have the infrastructure capabilities for the future. So I'm in favor of passing the resolutions.
Councilman Brennan?
Mayor, thanks for the opportunity to talk here. One point of, excuse me, let me get the paperwork again. One point of clarification from Councilman Bundy's earlier comments was, he outlined that in 2020, the request was 2625 and now it's 2630. That's just water. The wastewater is the significant one, where we're going from 21 to 2570. And so this is definitely a bigger chunk than the request was last year, and more than just had we passed everything and then 5% this year. So it's exceptionally larger. I have no issues with raising the rates. I think this one is too much all at one time, especially with how much we've raised last year. This is a giant jump for 2 years, and I don't think there's any security that we're honestly not going to ask the citizens for even more than 5% again next year, because the numbers always change, our projects always change. So we're not, obviously I'm not asking the council to commit to that, but there has to be a conversation also, more than just what we're doing this year and next year. And Rich, I'm interested to know how long, you really honestly don't have to answer this right now, but how long the wastewater system that we have is viable if we see the growth that the mayor mentioned earlier. At what point does the council need to have the tough conversation of going from a sewage lagoon system to a wastewater treatment facility? The bigger picture. And in my mind, I think it's in our lifetime, definitely in my lifetime. So those bigger, grander conversations need to happen. So, and finally, I'm just gonna say, I'm not frustrated, but tonight's meeting feels like everybody's rushing to make motions to pass stuff without allowing for adequate conversation.
Not germane to the conversation, Mayor.
Let's.
That's my conversation, I guess. So, people are rushing without allowing equal opportunity. Mayor, you have graciously allowed me to talk when people are rushing to make motions. So, thank you for that.
It's been motion and a second. I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes? Aye. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Nay.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Run down to item number 9. Discussion decision to request filed by Gary Toller on behalf of Lonnie Black, property owner, to de-annex a 20 by 280 foot strip of property located at Air Base Road. Councilman.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Bundy?
Lonnie, how are you?
Great.
I remember the last time we had this conversation, we voted against it. I read this, and it looks like Lonnie has done some considerable work with our Economic Development Director, and he has figured out a long-term plan, and I think it looks like a good long-term plan, and so I will be rushing, I will not be rushing that, but I will, I don't know why I apologize. I think there's been a lot of back work in here, and so I don't like to de-annex, but it looks like we have a de-annex with a plan to re-annex.
And the original de-annexation, we were trying to de-annex that whole strip.
Correct.
And now we're just trying to clean up that 20-foot lot line.
So, I appreciate the work you've done, and I'm glad that Mr. Cherry, with his knowledge of ordinances and planning, was able to figure out a good plan. So I'll let the other councilmen decide where they stand on it.
Was that a motion or?
No, I was just.
I wasn't sure how that went over there.
Councilman Brennan?
Lonnie, right?
Yes.
Is your other partner here with you that's kind of?
It's just me.
Okay, sorry.
She's right here.
The better half.
She's right here.
We have a lot of paper today, and I'm kind of getting lost in my paperwork, but you had another individual that you were allowing.
right there.
Oh, right here, to speak for you, okay. And so I guess the question is, why not just annex all of it into the city? What's the problem with
Yeah,
that?
go ahead there. I'm sorry, I heard you.
I guess I could take this off. I get CDH gal headers off. So. Thanks. Mayor and council, I appreciate you hearing our application on this and consideration of this. And Brock has been very helpful. It's been a long process since early August last year. Initially, we came to, you want me to give a narrative here, or? Okay. Initially, we come to the city to annex a portion of the one lot that contains CNA auto repair and the back portion that has one storage building on it. We wanted to split those and annex the back portion that had the storage sheds on it. We went through a process working with the county, working with Brock. Brock had come down to the point that virtually this lot would not be conforming to city code and would not be able to be annexed. So at that point, we kind of shook our heads and we go, well, what are we going to do from here? Mr. Black is trying to clean up his properties, which we've already done a lot line adjustment on one of the other pieces there, to get all the storage sheds into the city, all under one jurisdiction. He chooses to remain the CNA auto repair in the county, and we want to just square everything up, clean everything up so that his properties are in order. I mean, we don't live forever, heaven forbid. He may want to sell, whatever, and have these all under one jurisdiction. If you notice on the one property, the storage shed is both in the county and in the city. And we'd like to get that all under one jurisdiction. If, in fact, we could, since we can't annex the back portion because it's non-conforming, we could de-annex this strip, then that would put that storage shed and that strip and CNA all in the county. We could do a lot split on that property and then do lot line adjustments to bring the 20-foot strip into the other two properties. And then at some future time, when the city changes its code to allow for that annexation of that back property, annex that all in so that the storage sheds would all be within the city. Heaven forbid if somebody would run into that building at this point in time that's split between the county and the city, they'd run into that building in the back end. I'm not sure that we could get that building ever repaired because you go to a building permit for the city, you go to the building permit for the county. You wouldn't be able to repair it because it's in the county and it doesn't meet city codes. Big mess. Police, I mean, if somebody robbed that one, which jurisdiction is taking care of it? It's just a big headache, so if we could get all that under one property, leave the CNA as it is, and if we de-annex that, we could attach that to the CNA auto repair, that 20-foot strip. Eventually, there's virtually no taxes on that 20-foot strip that comes to the city, but if we annex the back portion of it, all the storage sheds with hopefully construction of another shed on that city property, if that would be annexed, all those taxes would go to the city. So I think it's a win-win for all. I think it's just a make sense deal. We could not split that 20-foot strip into the city. We could not divide that into two lots to split it to give half to half. It wouldn't meet the city code as far as minimum lot size in a commercial zone. There's lots of stumbling blocks on doing all of this, and with Brock's help, I think we've come to this conclusion that this is probably the easiest route and the most beneficial really for both city and county. So, and property owner.
Mr. Mayor. So, my name has been thrown out once or twice. I just want to say I appreciate Gary and also Mr. Black for their patience with this. I just want this body to know that de-annexation is kind of an extreme unknown when it comes to LUPA, when it comes to local ordinances. No one's ordinance really says anything about it. Case law is practically nil. I'm pretty sure Paul can speak to that as well. When I called my colleagues in other cities, there have been people who have been practicing in the profession for 50 plus years who are like, I've never heard of it. What I believe is the best case is, and the guidance I would give you as the city's chief city planner and as your community development director, is that broadly, this is not a practice you should engage in. And if there was ever a situation that was unique and called for this type of action, I don't think it should be a appointed individual, whoever makes that decision. Rather, the body who appointed me, who was elected by the people, to ultimately decide whether or not this would qualify, and it meets, and it's so unique, and that it would call for this type of action by this body. The trepidation I have is other people seeing this action and citing it when they come to you for asks of, well, you let him do it, my situation's similar. There is that possibility. However, that's up to you as individuals to decide and to definitely take on. Again, what is being asked is all of this right here. If you look up at the projector, all this is city, all the way to here. What is being asked by Mr. Black is that this small strip right here be de-annexed. It would allow for this existing storage shed to be all within the county and clear up jurisdictional issues outside of land use. Just like Gary mentioned, if there was ever to be any destruction of that, any crime that was to happen, it could become a jurisdictional question. And I do believe it would be suitable, and it would be cleaner if it all was under one jurisdiction. However, the argument could also be made, annex everything into the city, and then it is all cleaned up. One thing that took some time for me to know after multiple conversations, both with Mr. Fitzer and also Mr. Schroeder, was at first, right now per our code, if we were to annex some portions of this, it would be legal non-conforming. It wouldn't meet necessary dimensional standards. However, we can annex something that is going to be non-conforming. What I would recommend is in that annexation application that we seek to mitigate those non-conforming factors as much as possible. So that is an option, and it took a decent time to realize that that was an option, whereas prior I did communicate to Gary that I didn't believe we would want to annex something that was non-conforming. However, playing out this whole scenario for the last couple of months since August, that is an option that this body could do if they were to produce a application of annexation and annex the entire thing. With that, it is a sticky situation. It is different. I can relate, right now, I don't know how much money the city is able to gather off of this single strip right here. I don't know if it's significant, but what could prove to be significant is not the value that the city is gaining or losing from this piece, but the potential precedents we could be setting up for anyone viewing this meeting and for future asks to de-annex.
Mayor.
Who wants to go first?
Mayor.
Councilman McCain.
I've dealt with Mr. Black on this when I was in the building official's position and now in this type of capacity. he's been having a heck of a time with this and this piece of parcel that is non-conforming. If it was a larger piece, I'd say something possibly different, but with this portion, I'd recommend to go ahead and let him de-annex the portion shown.
Okay. Councilman Brennan?
Brock, so just for clarification, your conversations with Paul, like as of today, most recent, says that we can currently, with our ordinances, annex it in as a non-conforming use?
Yes, right now, we can annex in a non-conforming parcel, which it is, just by the current dimensional standards that are there. What we would try to do is mitigate those components as much as possible, but it is an option. Is it the cleanest? Who's really to say, but that is an option.
Okay. I don't really want to be in the game of de-annexation.
Say that again, sorry.
I don't want to be in the game of de-annexation, right? And that part of town over there is some of the most puzzled pieces of county and city that we have. Looking right here. Yep. Right there. And so I've been asking the question a long time about annexing all that to square up our property lines. And so I'll just leave it at that, I guess.
Paul, can we put in an ordinance here moving forward never to de-annex anything? I mean, well, the reason I'm saying is after, let's say the council says we're gonna let them de-annex this time. Can we do something that doesn't set that precedence? Is I guess I'm just trying to protect the city from potential, like, what else is over? Pizza Hut, even though this is small, this is not a fair assessment, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No. I'm not as concerned about the precedential value that it would have. The decision of a city whether to annex a parcel of property is the same analysis you would do to exercise your discretion whether to de-annex a particular piece of property. Even though it's a specific piece of property, it does not even qualify as a quasi-judicial decision. Whether to annex or de-annex a parcel of property is entirely legislative, 100% within the discretion of the city council as to whether to do it. And so there could be a reason that you would do it one time and a reason that you wouldn't do it another time. They bear almost zero precedential value for it, so it's entirely up to you. Sometimes I have dealt with it before, and it's the same analysis why sometimes you would choose not to annex something because you don't want to inherit in your city something that would be a non-conforming use. You'd be inheriting a problem that you don't want, a substandard septic system, a substandard water system. You don't want it.
Right.
And so you could come to the very same analysis, and we've done this on small parcels. Sometimes you do it with lot line adjustments. Sometimes you do it with annexing of the larger parcel. But whether the decision to de-annex something that probably shouldn't have been annexed in that fashion back in the day without solving a potential problem. I've advised cities in the past to de-annex something so we didn't want the headache. We didn't want to have to pay to fix something that should have been part of an annexation agreement back when they did it. And so the landowner wanted to de-annex, we're like, off you go, great. And so it's squarely within, you cannot write an ordinance saying that once something is annexed, it can't be de-annexed because future city councils, the same way you couldn't say we will never annex this parcel, future city council may decide they want to annex it. So
the only reason I ask, I just want to make sure that, obviously the one thing that isn't covered by city or ICREMP is land use. So, hence, that's why we pay the big bucks to you to make sure that we do things correctly, right?
Annexations are some of the most benign things that you could touch upon. It's purely legislative. It's not even quasi-judicial.
Okay, I want to make sure council knows that that's one thing that ICRIMP won't touch with a 10-foot pole. Councilman Bundy.
It's been a while since we addressed this the last time. But I think if we're looking for precedent, I think the council did set the precedent to not de-annex a piece of property that was using city resources, if I remember correctly. So this is basically a very unique situation and when you look at the map, I think we've, if we're talking about precedent, Mr. Chair, I think that's a good one. We've set the precedent that we won't de-annex unless it's a very unique situation. And so I think the concerns are well-founded. I think the ability that these two gentlemen had to come work with you, I take in good faith, and so I still stand in favor of de-annexing the 20 feet and letting him clean up his lines. And I think his desire to clean up his property lines, I'm going to paraphrase, we don't live forever type of a thing, is that we want to perhaps, there might be some estate decisions that might be tied in there. And so I think this is such a unique situation that I think we're okay. And Mike's been working with it for years as the...
Years.
Councilman Brennan.
Paul, I don't know if you're allowed to actually say it, but what I heard from you is almost a recommendation to move forward with a de-annexation in this particular instance. I'm always one to follow the guidance of the attorney, so.
That's a policy decision.
You're on the record.
They didn't elect me. I can tell you the legal realities of it. You're protected, what I can tell you is you're protected in either scenario what you decide to do. It's entirely discretionary on your part. But if you're pushing me on it, that makes sense, what they're requesting.
And to piggyback off of Paul, Councilman Bundy, you're not a representative here. What Councilman Bundy stated was very clearly the different factors that make it unique. And that's important because that's what Paul's gonna put in his findings of fact. And that's what we can go back to if we, Gary Kohler better not bring another one.
Where do you live?
If we were to receive another one, we can go off that past circumstance to know that, well, these were the parameters last time. This was what was there. So we don't have Pizza Hut deciding, well, I'm not going to do city taxes anymore. Or, the mayor deciding, I'm ditching this place for good. I'm just going to de-annex my house, which is something that we don't want and which this circumstance isn't. So I think as long as you are very clear about your reasoning so that our findings of fact can be concrete, that will be a valuable tool for the future when the circumstance potentially comes again, which it shouldn't. This is my once in a lifetime one. So
Me too. Sorry, one more question for Paul. Does the county have to approve taking land back? No. It's just forced on them.
It's the default when a city is contained inside of a county. And so when the decision as to whether to include it or not include it in the city is up to the city.
Okay.
And so by default, something that isn't in the city would then be in the county. It's a little goofy when you're on a county, two county
It is in the
lines.
county now.
Sure.
One part of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilman. What do you want to do?
Excuse me.
By a
There's a
motion?
motion on the floor.
There was?
There's been a motion on the floor.
there a
I made a
second?
motion a long time ago, but no
You
second.
didn't
make the motion.
I
I recommend.
Well, no, I said okay, I'll make the motion then, excuse me. I thought
All right.
Say the motion all.
Say it again.
I make a motion to de-annex the 20-foot portion of Mr. Black's property that is so noted in here.
Second. All right. The motion is second in deliberation. Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we get the distinct pleasure of having our city department heads here tonight, and I appreciate you guys for coming. And I want you guys to know what they've been up to. Doesn't have to be long, just give them a quick synopsis of what's going on. I'm gonna start out with Marty, hiding in there. Who else you got in there, Marty?
Say that again, Mayor. What would you like from me?
Just a quick synopsis of what you've been working on.
So, thank you, Mayor, Council. So the four biggest things that we've obviously been working on is the water project. Currently, Senate Bill 1121 is actually passed the Senate, is in the House of vote. What that will do is provide the $20 million project on the state's behalf to complete the entire pipeline coming from Snake River to Mountain Home Air Force Base. And that's substantial because that will ensure the long-term viability of Mountain Home Air Force Base and sustain our $760 million economic impact. Second thing, obviously, is housing, which you've already talked about. Third thing is the education, where we're trying to plan for the public schools and military installations. What this has done is that the DoD has placed Stevenson Elementary on Mount Home Air Force Base as its #1 priority. So they'll pay for 80% of the cost, where the city would only have, Mount Home School District would be responsible for 20%. So we're trying to work through that. And then the last thing, obviously, is license reciprocity. That is Senate Bill 1083 that has currently been passed by the Senate, now also waiting on the House to be passed. What that would do is allow for military families that are coming into Mountain Home Air Force Base or in the state of Idaho with their veterans. If they have a professional license or occupational license from another state, Idaho would accept that and process that application within 15 days. So that way they're a contributing member to our area. So those are kind of the 4 big things that we're working on.
Shasta.
We just increased our hours, browsing hours, so we're open 10 to 5, Monday through Friday. Once stage 4 is in place, we'll be able to go back on Saturday, so regular hours again. One staff member was able to get the vaccine, even though library workers are not categorized as essential workers. I did find out today that Desert Sage and Albertsons has a wait list, so I have encouraged staff members to go on that wait list if they are so inclined to get the vaccine. We are partnering with Parks and Rec for a spelling bee, a virtual spelling bee. We're hoping to get that underway on National Bee Day, which is May 20th. So we're excited to have that partnership. Let's see. I'm having staff do continued education through webinars. Anything that costs, we do have a line in our funding to cover that cost. I'm also waiting on bids for 3 new HVAC units. That we have 3 units that are 28 years old. They need to be replaced, so I'm waiting on bids for that. I'm also waiting on bids for new stucco and paint repair. So I'm waiting on one more bid for that, and it's due to woodpeckers. They've been pecking at the outside of the building, so we want to get that nipped in the bud. And we are still quarantining items. However, studies have shown that it's not so much to do with surfaces. So during the month of March, we are quarantining items for 5 days. However, starting in April, we will lower that to 3 days. And just a note of fact, that April, in the middle of April, is National Library Week, so we will be putting on some celebrations for that.
Cool, thank you. Gene?
City Streets has been working, getting out of winter time, starting to get into springtime. So basically right now we're setting up with some of the road project stuff, getting some of those bids and stuff like that in. The crews are out working on kind of trying to get the dump at a final closure for this year. Hopefully we'll meet that goal. And then right now sweepers running. You'll see those running as often as possible, picking up the mess. We clean it a little bit more down, but I think we're past that, so we're going to be starting to set up, take our snow plows and stuff like that, get ready for summer.
Perfect. David?
I don't have as much as Shasta.
Overachiever.
We got well 15 put back together. We're waiting to get it stretched out and wired back in so it'll go back up online. The tank has been completed. We finished that stuff up on Saturday. That's all ready to go. Get Keller in here, get it cleaned out, and get it ready to go back in. And a lot of general maintenance. So we've got a lot of projects we're going to be working on.
Fantastic. Chief?
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Sergeant Jeff Rhodes, 30 years in the Mount Home Police Department. Looks like he's going to be sitting on a retirement here in a month or so. So good for him. That's exciting. Kyle Rollins, Officer Rollins, is going to be transferred over to the Criminal Investigations Unit. He'll be doing detective work. So looking forward to that. He'll start as Chris Jessup rotates back out to patrol. So we got that going on. Lots of in-house training right now. We have trainings every week that we're going through, so that's exciting. We have We had a meeting with St. Luke Security today, this afternoon, that went very well with their director of security statewide, and so that went well. And so yeah, we're just working on CIP and budget and getting ready to move on. We'll say that we are anticipating a couple openings for certified officers. So if you know anyone who's interested in working out in the police department, we'd love to.
Perfect. Julie.
Wastewater land app starts in about 3 weeks, so there's a lot of stuff we have to get done for that. There's a lot of soil samples, water samples. Today the guys spent the afternoon switching out a lift station pump. That's always fun.
I saw that today.
Yeah. I heard you didn't stick around with it.
No. They said I was overdressed, I think.
Other than that, we're just doing our general maintenance, trying to keep up on the TV and cleaning.
Awesome, thank you. Chief.
Mayor, Council, the fire department is alive and well. We've been doing a lot of work with our Tower 1, our joint first, which was the rural. We anticipate that being up and operational by mid to latter part of this month. We've identified people that are going to be primary operators of the tower, and they'll also work as instructors to get the entire department up and be operationally sound with that. Training, we've just recently, in the last month or so, we've been able to get together and train through our COVID thing and hear into the different standards, breaking up in groups. We will be coming together this upcoming Thursday with an outside trainer from Boise that is going to come up and do a training just on the tower itself. He's an operator of the tower there, captain of the Boise Fire Department. We've got several good candidates that we've had. They're showing up. Our numbers are strong. Really like what we see there. And I have a recommendation from the hiring committee that we allow them to start responding directly to the scenes on call. So that'll be good for more people to see them. That'll be give them an opportunity to see more of us. So looking forward to all that.
Fantastic. Good job. Tiff?
First, Mayor and Council, I'd like to say thank you for passing the lease agreements this evening. Kind of glad to get those and move on from that. So, we've been working on the budget. Plan to meet with Paul tomorrow to work on our rec budget. We've made it to the second round with the Land and Water Conservation Committee on our aquatic facility grant. So, positive vibes for the mayor and I on March 31st. We're the first ones out the gate. We're one of 6. So, hopefully we make it to the final.
Council, we're going to set the bar high for all the others. Was it 6 of them or 5 of them? We're going to set it so high that they're like, Mount Home. This will all be TIF. It's all TIF.
Well, we know that.
Right?
It's all via Zoom, so wish me luck. So, we have continued through the whole pandemic to offer programming to our community with things looking better. We're hoping that spring programming will be maybe normal. We've got a lot going on with our bee, spelling bee. We've partnered with the UI Extension as well with that, and then Arbor Day with UI Extension. So we got a lot going on. Spring soccer kicks off the first weekend of April. Hard to believe it's already here. Our next rec guide comes out the 1st of April. I met with Alexis outside on the sidewalk saying, hey, if you want to give me that survey, we'll get it out to all those residents as well. So we're just still cruising down the road, hoping people sign up. So
Perfect. Nana?
Mayor and Council, I've just been working on all this paperwork. And I had a Zoom meeting today with iCrimp, our insurance company, and we usually do a lot of our HR training through them. Because of COVID, we haven't done that lately, and we usually like to do like sexual harassment training and that every year with our employees. And so they have come up with a new system now where we're going to be able to do that online. Each employee will be able, I'll be able to assign it to the employees, and they can actually go in and watch the training and then say that they've completed it. We'll have a record that they completed it, and iCrimp will keep those records. And so they're going to have a lot of different trainings on there that we'll be able to do from moving forward. And I'm working on the resolution to destroy records that we don't need that we do every year, and that should come to you at the next meeting.
Perfect, thank you. Paula?
Mayor and council, the trees in El Rancho was a huge hit. I tried to change them. They're all green now. There should be no question. It's St. Patrick's Day, and then we'll make some for Easter. So the community is really enjoying that. I get a lot of feedback, very positive. Audit, we got the results back today. They'll be in to present. I think they're going to Zoom it at the next council meeting. That'll save them. For the department heads, they've been working on the budget and the CIP, but what they don't know is tomorrow they'll be working on cash carryover. So we'll get those sheets out to them. And then the mayor and I have been extremely busy with fiber, internet service providers. Yeah, it's exhausting. That and people that just want to help us. So we've had a lot of interest in the fiber, and I think the state and the national, it's a huge push to get connectivity out to rural communities. So that's what we're doing.
What? You've had a lot tonight, so quick, just boom.
Yep. As you know, housing is a big deal. Know that all of our efforts when I very first started, with those changes, that we are seeing the fruits of that happen, and that's very exciting. I appreciate all of your partnership. Things are good. Past 8 months with the city, I feel like it's been 5 years.
You love us.
Yep. I had one of my coworkers point out today that I have more gray hair than I did when I started. But it's been an utmost pleasure. Kimberly, my wonderful assistant. But it's been wonderful. Things are coming along, and onward and upward.
Rich.
Just two things. First of all, I had dark
I
had two things. First of all, downtown project. We have they're on their 2 weeks of putting out for bid because we have the big state grant, the commerce grant, so they have to bid it out that way. So we should get things here on that last. I was trying to get it for the 22nd of March, that our meeting on Monday, but we're going to have to push it because their meeting, the last day for bids is the 19th, so they wouldn't get us everything before then. So we'll try to get something. I think we're going to try to get something set for the 25th, if that works. Do you have something?
He couldn't do it the 25th, so I got it the 24th.
Okay, so
now he sent it out to council, see if they can make it. We'll see what happens.
So just kind of an
I've
update.
had them giving me a time which works best for everybody.
Just an update on that, so that's moving forward. And secondly, just the council, I'd like to thank you for the rate increase from Public Works. We don't take that lightly. I know it's a big deal. We're not going to ask the city to pay for something that they don't have to pay for, and you're good stewards of our money, and that's our job to also be. So when we do projects and we do things, we're doing them because they need to be done, and we're not just out there spending money to spend money. So we appreciate that, and so I just want to put that out there that I deeply feel that, and it's hard. It was a hard decision, and I appreciate it. I really do, and I know Public Works does, and when that boosts our morale, and it really does. And we're going to get out. I mean, we're going to get out there and get stuff done, and you're going to see stuff being done, and because the roads are getting done, things underneath the roads are getting done. And so I think the citizens will see the stuff, and so the next 3-4 years, that what do we have that everything stays in set, it's going to happen. So again, thank you.
So Councilman, let's go first.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes.
I want to go first. I was right around Sunday, beautiful day, rode by the skate park. There was like 100 kids out there. Literally, they were all over. And then I have to mention these two beautiful skateboards. So we have the male one, the Mandalorian one, and then we have the female one, the Enjoy. So that contest is out on Facebook.
How do they work? Why don't you show us?
I'm not that coordinated.
I have a video.
I'd encourage any youth from the Mountain Home area, greater area, to apply.
Mike, you have anything?
Yeah, Mayor, I appreciate what Rich said, and I also appreciate Councilman Brennan's vote. It's tough to raise the water rates. I hate doing things like that. But at the same time, kicking the can down the road isn't going to do the city a damn bit of good either, to where that's the reason why I did that. But I did notice some work going on up at the hill. I see your building official is not here, as I always was.
I did let him go. He had a date night. He goes, I made all the department. I didn't make them. I asked them to show up if they could, and it was his date night. And he goes, she's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
So Hank, if you're watching this, you can use that as an excuse.
But no, I noticed that they have started projects up there in Kmart Plaza up there. I'm glad to see that's going to where, so. Shit, sorry, I forgot.
Mayor and Council, so yeah, that's breaking ground for Dutch Brothers and for Grocery Outlet, so that's what they're breaking ground.
I thought it was up, but I didn't want to say just in case. Sorry, Nana.
Ready to go, somebody?
Mayor, I was
can't
gonna
see your
ask,
face with your mask.
has the job announcement closed out yet for the fiber assistant?
Friday.
Friday, okay, thanks.
Matt, got anything?
It is great to see the department heads here, and you guys do great work. Thank you.
Alrighty. All I've got is I want the citizens to know that I've always said it. You are the very reason for our day every day. You pay our wage, and we want to in return make sure that we're doing everything in your eyes the right way. And that's why when you have this good discussion like this, these guys up here debating and talking about things, that's where the real work, the real road and the real work gets done. What is the biggest commodity that we lose? It's our children. And every department head here and every councilman here, I can almost guarantee you, and I'm not trying to speak for you guys, want to make sure that our children, our grandchildren, and our children's children have something moving forward. And when we have to make these decisions, we don't do them lightly. And I want you guys to know that we appreciate you. I know the department heads can't do their work without you guys, and we appreciate you. I love it when everyone comes in and voices their concerns and their opinions. That helps us make better decisions. And we do not take that lightly. And I love the fact that Chairman Green is here representing. That's great. It's always good to see that collaboration in Shasta and the rest of the department heads, I mean the council. Man, we can't do it, and it's good to see the DOPS rodeo crew here. You guys are always breaths of fresh air, so it's good. And like I said, with Lonnie and Gary, it's good to let you guys know that these decisions sometimes are difficult ones. So with that, I'm going to get us out of here. What time we got, Nina?
7:58.
Oh! Very good, sure.
I'll take my gift.